Alright, it is Wednesday, 9:22 a.m., July 21, and the main watch list. I'm gonna keep this one INCC. Maybe it can have a nice run up today, but it's not really something I'm looking at too much. It has to be a nice mover. DPLS, LCLP are the two main ones. Maybe LCLP can do an uptrend. That would be great. It could do a morning panic too. Same with DPLS. This is all I have. I have other stocks that I'm looking at, but these are the main ones that I'm interested in. One thing to remember again, I need to consider these that have a morning panic bounce play, and they do a higher low at the VWAP level. Also, if I get really close to the risk level right here, like I did yesterday with DPLS, and I think even LCLP, I should consider a larger size just because I am that close to the risk level that it makes it worth it. And then I can try perhaps selling half at VWAP or maybe right under it or whatever the top of the range is. So like right here was at 11.4 level, back here was this level right here, this was the top, and then I can hold half to see if it can break past VWAP or do a nice follow-up run up past that level. So that's where I'm at. There are some other stocks that are starting to uptrend, but nothing too crazy, at least for something to me to be interested in. Maybe I've missed one, but that's what I'm thinking about right now. Alright, it is 9:48. I did not make any trades, at least as of right now. Just no really nice morning panic bounce plays. In theory, this one here could work, DPLS, but the problem is that the range is not very much. 12.21 to VWAP here being 12.58, but it makes sense that these things could bounce back, as well as LCLP, because they're down a little bit. Nothing looks too nice. I was looking at LCLP for a dip towards VWAP setup, which in theory is here, which is right under it, but the problem is that I haven't seen that big volume candle that I would like to in order to consider a buy along. Although this thing could totally work out and play out, it's just that I don't see that type of price actioning happening at the moment, which is why I'm not interested. As for the other ones, I think BPS starts up 50%, but I don't see it doing very much up there, and nothing else is really that interesting in terms of me wanting to trade it. Let's look at PBYA. Yeah, I don't like this one either. This one looks like spaghetti. I don't see anything that I'm interested in. I will be looking, but yeah, there's no morning panic, at least right now. No clear morning panic bounce plays. In theory, this one could work out, but the range isn't that nice. And it's up on the day too, so it's not perfect. That's what I'm looking at right now. Maybe in theory this could be the big volume candle, right? But I don't know. I might consider it, but probably not. I'm probably late to it anyway. Nothing clear at the moment. Alright, it is 11 a.m. I have been watching the webinar with Tim Sykes, and I haven't really traded anything. I was looking at CUBV. He had an initial trade here, and I thought, well, it could turn around right here too. It could be a double bottom. We've seen this happen before. It did go from 7.1 to 7.9. I did not trade it. I hesitated, and then I saw it get here in the 60s, and then I never really liked it because, again, even though it was up nicely one day and it was a large percent, the issue was that a tiny amount of volume would just make this thing drop so easily. When it comes to morning panic bounce plays, you see, like large volume when it's at the very bottom, max panic, and then the decreasing volume shows that it's starting the uptrend. And we're kind of having that here, but I just don't like how little it trades in terms of that. So I was watching this for a potential degenerate, really inverse head and shoulders, right? The shoulder here, but it worked out later in the day. I don't regret this too much. This wouldn't have been an ideal setup. There were no morning panic bounce plays today, so literally haven't traded anything. LCLP is fading. If this thing, I think Tim said the same thing, if it has like a huge drop, that would be interesting, but that's not the case. DPLS is just holding itself. I think I mentioned it here when it was like a large volume spike, or was that LCLP? I don't even remember anymore. It was LCLP. It did do a run up. I did miss on the morning spike. That would have been more ideal, but that's really distant, you know. Again, that's like very far in terms of what patterns I'm working on. I like morning panic bounce plays, a higher low, lower low, or maybe the dip towards VWAP after that initial panic, and then dip towards VWAPs in general. Morning spikes is like way out there, so you know, I don't mind just not being so, you know, in focused or just perfect, you know, trying to trade those things, because that's pretty distant in terms of that. I don't see anything that is really interesting, which sucks, because you know, this would have been nice if it was yesterday when I had a whole bunch of work to do that, and you know, I could have just have you know, could have worked on those things and not felt like I was missing out on the markets. There are some like interesting ones, but they are Nasdaqs. I might consider Nasdaqs, but not too much. I forgot which one it was, but there is one, I believe, if it makes an inverse head and shoulders, but that's all I got for right now. Okay, it is 11:29 a.m. so this wasn't completely ideal because of the time, but I was watching LCLP with this downtrend, but I was never really interested in it until here, because it had that humongous big volume, you know, candle here, and I was watching it thinking, okay, maybe this thing can try to reverse. It could be like a inverse head and shoulder, shoulder head, and make a shoulder. But you know, I was waiting for that consolidation candle, low volume, all that stuff, and it continued to downtrend. It got as low as 23.9, and you know, it did spike back here. I should have been in at this 248 give or take level, but I was too picky. I had my thing here at 245, and that, you know, it did not even get to 245, so that was my issue there. Probably should have been in at 249, but I'm not gonna get too upset because of the fact that this thing, you know, it was happening later in the day. It wasn't in the morning. It's not as ideal as it was, you know, if this were to have happened, you know, just 2 hours ago. So that's why I didn't take a trade there. Should have been more open into getting into this level. Shouldn't have, you know, been so picky with my thing. They're sitting at 245, but you know, right now it's at 268. Let's see how this thing can go. I got nothing else. CUBV is fading. I want to be interested in this because it was not you know, CUBV was only up one day. DPLS nothing here, unless it just has something crazy, which isn't the case. If it were to crack 10 or I guess 11 pennies, that would be nice, but that isn't the case here. I don't see any setups, so I'll make an update later, but it is midday, so I'll look, but I'll be cautious of the time. This might actually be a day where I just don't have any trades, and that's totally fine. Alright, it is 11:51. I had one trade here with LCLP, and I eventually sold because I just got tired of all of the red prints. There were just too many people who were selling on the bid. Just somebody is trying to sell a lot of shares without really bringing the price down. So the idea was shoulder, head, shoulder. It could still work out, you know. It could totally make a move, and the goal would have been somewhere at VWAP, and this thing again can totally work out. I bought at 262, 1144, which was right here, right, 1144, 262. So I had a good entry, and having a good entry is what really helped me hold on to this a lot better. It does trade with a spread here, and for a long time 262, I believe, or no, maybe 261 was like a big wall of bidders, but it eventually got taken out to the point that it got to 26, right? So it just started to look very bad. 1151 right here, 1151. I sold at 265 apparently. I think it was 2645. Let me see if it shows. I guess we'll just do some math right here. 529.10 divided by, yeah, 26455. That was my exit. Again, can this work out? Sure, but it's taking too long. I don't like how 261 was a support level and now it's 26. Well, I guess 261 is back, but you know, it's hitting 26, which isn't good at all. There is just somebody who just has a lot of shares to sell, lots of selling, and it's not really helping this thing do a potential uptrend. Again, this thing can totally work out, but I don't mind my sell there. I don't mind my attempt that much. It was a inverse head and shoulders. These things don't seem to be working that well with OTCs. Maybe these things are better for listed stocks, but that was the case there. Again, it's now trading 262 by 264, and yeah, this thing could totally work out. But again, you see, this is just a lot of red prints, you know, a lot larger than the people who try at the ask. So that's all I got for right now. I'll make an update to see if this setup eventually works out. If I had to guess, it can, but I just got tired of it because there are a lot of people selling on the ask, not on the ask, on the bid, and I held it pretty well, 7 minutes. So I'll make an update later, but that's all I got for right now. Okay, it is 12:29 p.m. and yeah, this thing was successful. It got as high as 288. I would be selling anywhere here in the 28s just because, you know, it could fail. Although it looks like it's trying to get towards VWAP, it could have failed at any point while it was still uptrending towards this level. And there were a few dips back to 27, but nothing crazy. This would have been successful in that, you know, had I have held longer, I wouldn't say better, just longer, because the price action here was looking like trash. And I think I did sell like right when it was starting to turn around at 51. Yeah, I sold right here, and it did start to turn around here when it started to put up like a tiny higher low here at 57, which would have been holding it twice as long as what I did in this trade. So it's not that bad in that sense, but hey, I'm glad to see that this thing worked out eventually. Had I have risked 26 flats, I would probably have been able to sell for a profit, a larger profit. This was a tiny $6 profit. Out of curiosity, I mean 262, right? That was my entry. 524. If I sold at 28, $524, 560. So that would have been like 36 something dollars, or something around $30. Now I don't know what the percent gain would have been. I did push myself to trade a somewhat larger position size. Normally, you know, maybe a few weeks ago, something like this, I would have traded a $300 position. Instead, I went for 560, whatever it was. It was 262. Right, yeah, 520 position. But yeah, I could have went even larger. But again, I was not risking 20. I was risking 26, but I guess had I have really just stuck with that plan, risking that 26 level, that would have been successful. But this thing did take a really long time. So I mean, it started from 11:43 to 12:03. So that's 20 minutes. You know, that's a while for me, for somebody who's in and out in like 3 minutes, give or take. So I'm glad to see that the setup worked out. It did take its time. You know, maybe I'll trade it better in the future, but I think it was a good attempt nonetheless. CUBV is nothing I want to do. There's nothing I want to do with it. LCLP, again, that inverse head and shoulders. I'm glad to see that it worked. Nothing here with DPLS. That's all I got. Okay, it is 7:01 p.m. and I made a whopping $6 today trading LCLP. I haven't seen what the markets have done. I've been doing a bunch of other stuff. This was a setup right here. It did ultimately work out. I bought at 262. It got as high as 29, which is impressive. That's right under VWAP. In this case, I learned already last week, you know, if you're trying to aim for VWAP and it's not really getting there, it's just slightly below it, it's better to just take a sell there, especially in this case. being the top of this range, a full number 29. So that was the case there. I would have not have gotten that far. I think I would have likely have sold at 28 because that's the top of this range right here, and because it was kind of slow and imperfect in terms of what I wanted it to do or what I thought I could do, you know, would have sold in and there. But I'm glad this thing worked out, even though I wasn't really there for it. Again, I bought at 262. I sold at 26445, I believe. It did get to 29. That's nice range. That's nice range. I would have likely have sold at 28 if I held longer. CUBV is nothing I want to do. It did turn around here, but it took a while. This one would have been super sketchy. I could have pushed myself to trade this one, but I didn't. DPLS, hopefully maybe it can continue some kind of an uptrend tomorrow, so it can make a nice morning panic bounce play. Again, no morning panic bounce plays today, which stinks because that's what I do best, but that's totally fine. You know, if it's gonna uptrend, you know, if it does it doesn't have to, of course. It might do a panic tomorrow and break this 11-cent level nicely. That could be a nice setup, but you know, if they're gonna uptrend or whatever, do its thing, that's totally fine. I will give it more range, ideally for more, you know, potential bounce plays. That's all I got. There was really nothing else that was truly interesting, if you ask me, but maybe there was something that I missed, and I'll see it tomorrow, you know, when I look at the top percent gainers of today. And yeah, that's all I got. Just a small trade that could have worked out, would have been much profitable. LCLP, it's not like it failed, it just took a very long time. That's all I got. I look forward, God willing, to tomorrow. I just have to keep trying.